Hello, spooky friends. Welcome to another episode of Dairyland Frights, the paranormal podcast that covers everything spooky, creepy, and mysterious in the Midwest. My name is John, and I'm here with my two co-hosts, Brooke and Megan. How you doing?
Pretty good. Excited to hear a story from Megan today.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Nice urban legend. We, in our last episode, covered Slender Man. Have you seen Slender Man at all? Has he come up, rang the doorbell?
In the last week?
Yeah.
Not that I've seen, but I have to check all the pictures that I've taken from the last week to see if he's lurking in the background.
Right. Megan, anybody show up on your lawn skinny, looking weird?
Well,
extra appendages.
That's why you got to get the Ring camera so you can check to see who it is before you actually open the door.
That is true.
Yeah.
But John, I have that crucifix in my basement, so that's keeping me safe for now.
That's true. I got to get me one of those.
Now, you got to get them recharged, Megan. We've been through this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My crystals.
So, today, Megan is, and I didn't hear about this. I don't know about you guys, but this is new, and I've lived in Wisconsin all my life. So, kind of interesting. We're going to cover a spooky urban legend from Appleton, Wisconsin. So, Megan, take it away.
All right. This story, I didn't know much about it, but John kind of told me a little bit about it, and I just had to learn more. So this is the story that I'm going to tell you today. It's crazy. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So what if I told you two that there's this mysterious tombstone in Wisconsin that is said to ooze blood under the light of the moon?
Ooh.
Scary. It's like the perfect Halloween story. Sitting around the campfire, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
That is so metal. I just like saying that is so metal because that is oozing blood. We did remember Brooke, when you did the Pesticle fire, there was some dude on some stallion thing. And,
a kid riding a stag.
Yeah.
In fire. Yeah.
Oh, that is so metal. So I love it. Yeah, so I am hooked. You got me, Megan. Please tell me more.
Yeah, so this is a crazy story that's been around for 150 years in the Appleton area, but you'll have to stay tuned because a lot of the details that come about, some things are true, some things are not. He said, she said. So I'm going to kind of cover both sides, and you can kind of hear how the story came to be what it is. So it's definitely more than meets the eye. But before I get started, something I thought was so funny is that this legend really comes alive around Halloween each year in Appleton. And there's this local grocery store that makes tombstone-shaped sugar cookies, and they frost it with the woman's name on the grave on the cookie. I was
gosh,
that's so cute. It's profiting off, the little, legend of the town. So
yeah,
I think that's
so fun.
Kind of fun.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, kind of like the hodag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the hodag and Penny the sea monster thing.
Yeah, Peppy. Yeah, Peppy the sea monster.
Peppy, yeah. Which is on our back episodes. Please check out some great cryptids and some really cool stories. So.
Yeah, we love our cryptids for sure.
All right, I'll go ahead and get started. I just wanted to call out a few of the sources I used for this podcast. I used the Post-Crescent News, the Appleton Post, the Riverside Cemetery. So the actual tombstone I'm going to talk about is at Riverside Cemetery in Appleton. And then Wisconsin Frights. So not Dairyland Frights, but Wisconsin Frights. Yes.
We're good.
Yes. That's a good website, by the way. I've used it a couple times.
Definitely check it out.
Yeah.
All right. So as I said, this story takes place in Appleton, Wisconsin. This is a city that's located on the Fox River. And if you're not quite sure where it is, it's about 30 miles southwest of Green Bay and about 100 miles north of Milwaukee. So kind of in that general area. Yeah, go Pack Go. Woo, we love the Packers. All right. So Appleton is actually a pretty big city. It has about 75,000 people living there today, and that was from the 2020 census. So there might be more people, but pretty big city. It was settled back in the 1830s, so it's been around for a long time. And That back in the 1830s, that was actually just 20 years before this main character of my story was born. So she was there like right when the place was just coming about, which is kind of a cool piece of history.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so this lady that I'm going to talk about, this is the lady who is buried underneath the tombstone that I'm going to talk about. She has a crazy name. I love it. Her name is Kate Blood. Can you imagine if you
Kate
had
Blood?
Yeah,
Wait.
the last name Blood. That's
That's
crazy.
awesome.
Yeah. So she has a pretty interesting story that I'm going to talk about today, and I feel like you'll feel for her by the end of my story. So tune in and let me know what you think. But this lady, her name was Kate Blood. She had a really cute nickname. She went by Kitty, which I think is kind of cute for like an 1800s name. So it's like a nice nickname that she went by. So you could really tell that people really loved her. Unfortunately, she only lived a very short life. She was born in 1851 and she died in 1874. So she was only 23 when she died. So a little bit sad, but a little bit of background on Kate. She was the daughter of an influential settler and actually one of the very first children that was ever born in the Appleton community back in the mid 19th century. And her father actually was pretty influential. So he was this Methodist volunteer at the time, and he quickly became this very prominent member of the community. So this entire family was held in very high regard. People really liked them. Henry, that was the father, Henry Blood, he actually played a pretty significant role in founding Appleton, and he was among one of the 4 people who helped laid out the plots for the village. And he also laid out the plot for Lawrence University, which is a liberal arts college that is still around today. So you might be familiar with Lawrence if you are familiar with Wisconsin. That college was founded all the way back in 1847. So cool fun fact about that.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah. So you would definitely think that, you know, being the daughter of this very highly esteemed leader would really set you up for success in life. And she did have a great life when she was alive. She married this guy named George Miller. He lived from 1846 to 1916. So he actually died at age 70. So he lived a lot longer than she did. But he had a really cool position in Appleton. He was actually the editor of the Appleton Post, which I think would probably be a pretty cool job to have back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And then I read various sources. I'm like pretty sure Kate just had one daughter who, when she died, the daughter was only 2. Some other sources said she had multiple children, but I think it's hard to kind of tell. I think she only had 1, but I think records have kind of been lost to time. So it's hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure she just had 1 daughter based off of the newspaper clipping that I found, which I can link to and share later in the podcast. So, all right. So you think this is like a nice family, a nice dad, nice daughter, you know, nice husband. So it's like, what could possibly go wrong, right? So I think in her 23 years, she had a great life. She had her great family, but unfortunately, she did end up passing away in a pretty tragic way. And this wasn't just like tragic for her immediate family. It was tragic for the entire town of Appleton. You know, back in the day, everyone was very close to each other, really cared about each other, looked out for each other. So this threw the entire town of Appleton out of array. And back in the day, she, at only 23 years old, she contracted tuberculosis, which I thought was interesting. I found the newspaper clipping that announced her death, and they called tuberculosis consumption back in the day. So she passed away from consumption. So it's an interesting fun fact. So unfortunately, Kate, she came down with tuberculosis. She wasn't feeling very good. Obviously, you know, Wisconsin isn't a great place to be, you know, in the hard winters to start feeling better. So in her mind, she was like, okay, why don't I travel down to where some of my other family was in Colorado so that I can live in a warmer climate. I can stay with my family and I can hopefully improve in my condition. Well, that didn't really go too great for Kate. So she was on her way to Colorado. She didn't quite make it. She got all the way to Lawrence, Kansas before she passed away. So kind of sad for her, but I thought this was interesting. So she passed away in Kansas, but she was going to be buried back in Appleton. So they put her body on a train and took it all the way back to Wisconsin. I think that just like blows my mind that like that was a thing back in the day. Just like put her right on there.
Right.
Yeah, throwing a slab right on there.
Just prop her up, put some sunglasses on her.
Yeah.
No one will know. Well, hopefully she didn't have to pay for a plane ticket because she was dead. So
yeah.
But I mean, I guess in a way that was probably the fastest way to get someone back to where they were supposed to be buried, because I don't really think you go by wagon. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Oh yeah, that would take way too long.
It'd be like decomposing.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't know. Can you imagine just like having the body in the back of the train or in the back of the wagon? Just like, it's there. But
yeah.
All right.
True.
So obviously, yeah, right. A little bit of history lesson here. So obviously, people loved Kate. They loved her family. So this was like a big deal back in Appleton. So, word of Kate's death really spread throughout the town. And the Appleton Post, they completely stopped all of their presses so that they could announce her death in the newspaper.
Wow.
And I found the exact date that the obituary was posted. So maybe I can put a screenshot on Instagram so you all can read it. But she passed away the obituary, was printed in the newspaper on January 7th of 1875 in the Appleton Post. So it was pretty easy for me to Google and find, so you can read through that. But that was posted in the newspaper and you can read it. And I picked out one of the passages from the newspaper, and it said that Kate had been fading away for a few months only, and none could believe that her departure was so nigh at hand. She was of sweet and amiable disposition. So, yeah. So I really want you to start thinking about, I kind of gave like a little teaser last episode. So like, obviously this is a great lady. Everyone loved her. So it's like, how are these stories coming about that she's like haunting the place where she's buried, like the bloody headstone? Like it really doesn't match with like the great life that she had. So I'm going to kind of go into that a little bit. So I think with this story, there's a lot of like he said, she said, this is true, this is not true. No, this is true, this is not true. So, in one way, this lady, Kate, she was like one of the first daughters of Appleton. People loved her, and like they would be like so mad that we were talking, so poorly of her nowadays. But then other accounts say like, oh, Kate Blood, she was a witch, or like she was an axe murderer. It's like, what happened?
An axe murderer.
Yeah, like how do we go from like sweet, nice 23-year-old lady to bleeding headstone, axe murderer, witch? Like something went awry here.
Yeah, so I would say so.
Yeah, luckily I did the research for you all, so you can sit back and listen and tell me what you think. So.
Oh, right.
So there's so many rumors about Kate Blood that it's kind of hard to pinpoint where the true origins of her tale kind of came about from. And, different researchers say different things, but one thing for certain is that over the years, her story has kind of been like twisted and turned, and the truth is very obscured. So I think it's like one of those cases where people really build upon the story and kind of like add their own little thing here and there. So I'm going to tell you all the rumors that I found about Kate. Some of them, I'm going to debunk them on my own, but if you guys want to speak up, let me know. I don't think this sounds real. All right, so here's the first rumor. So people spread rumors that Kate Blood murdered her husband and her child with an axe before committing suicide.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'll kind of get into this a little bit later, but her gravesite is not with all of the other graves at the Riverside Cemetery. It's put off to the side in a completely different part by itself. So people were kind of saying like oh, you know, they probably put her grave away from everyone else, like bad juju, like we want to, you know, cover up the truth.
Wow.
But yeah, so they're saying in this first rumor, they're saying that Kate Blood was an axe murderer and she killed her family. But like, if you take even 0.2 seconds to look at the headstone, you can see that her husband lived to age 70. Like he lived a whole 42 years longer than she did. Like something is not adding up here. So I'm going to debunk this one. She was not a murderer. She never murdered anybody, but yet people still make up these stories about her.
But where was she in Villisca, Iowa during the
right? Oh my God, that's a crazy story. If you guys haven't tuned into that episode, that's one of our most popular episodes. You'll definitely have to tune into that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Here's the second rumor. So people flipped it, and they were saying, okay, well, she wasn't the axe murderer. Her husband murdered her in a drunken rage. It's like. Yeah,
like she died from tuberculosis.
Like that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, dying from tuberculosis is a very reasonable explanation for her death. Like there was no evidence that her husband was a bad person or he was abusive or the relationship was on the rocks. So I'm also going to debunk this one because pretty sure that she just died from complications. So I will also debunk that one. But here is the most interesting rumor, which I think might have some validity to it. So her last name Blood, I think certainly kind of gave rise to some of like the dark tales that we know about her. And I'm actually going to go into a quick side story that's super interesting. So something that I actually figured out is that there are actually like other rumors in other cemeteries about people who also have the last name Blood. So I just don't know if it's like, oh, you know, it's a scandalous or, you know, dark last name. We're going to make up stories about it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I could see that.
Yeah. So not in Riverside Cemetery, which I'm talking about, but in a different cemetery in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. There's another small cemetery called the Woodville Cemetery. And it actually also goes by the name Blood Cemetery, which is like, wow, that's great name for a cemetery. Like great name for a final resting place, guys.
Yes.
But yeah, so this one is actually not accessible to the public, and I'll kind of get into that later. There's a lot of reasons why, but this story goes, so there was this man named Calvin Blood, not related to Kate Blood, who was a veteran of the Civil War. And according to Chad Lewis, we're going to talk about him a lot. He's a well-known author in the paranormal community. He like the story goes that Calvin hung himself in a cemetery tree there. So there was also a similar story. I don't know which is true. A different story is a little bit different. The story goes that he was a Civil War deserter. So basically, this is when a soldier deliberately and permanently leaves military service before their term is up. And that's like a big no-no. So the story goes that the other soldiers of the Civil War, they didn't like this, and they actually hung him at the cemetery. So either way, this guy did not make it.
Right.
And there's a sort of story that he was hung at a tree in the cemetery, but whichever one you believe or don't believe, there's some very like spooky things that happened there. So it's said that the tree that Calvin hung from drips blood, which is like, okay, this is just like the cemetery that we're talking about, like trees dripping blood, tombstones dripping blood. So I don't think these two stories are related. So it's just like, it's interesting that there's that similarity. But
so like basically if your last name's Blood, people will just start
like talking crap about you.
Yeah,
man. Good thing we all have chill last names,
right?
No, Megan and Brooke, I'm changing my name to Blood.
I'm going to court. John Blood.
I'm going to court. John Blood. Johnny Blood.
Actually, that sounds pretty badass, though. Not gonna lie.
John Blood, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, that sounds
There
like
it
like
is.
a movie star name.
Yeah.
Damn right. I'm doing it. Changing it on Monday. John Blood.
I don't know if Brooke Blood sounds as good. Actually, no. Yeah, that's like
kinda
a superhero
interesting.
name.
Megan Blood?
Yeah.
No, that's not.
No.
No.
I'm sorry,
I don't
Megan.
It doesn't have a ring to it. Sorry. All right. Well, so yeah, some other things that have happened at this cemetery. People have reported seeing like blue lights floating near the spot. People have like mechanical problems with their cars. And here's the cool part, John. I might have to, dare you to do this. If you go there and you touch the trees outside the cemetery, you will be cursed for
Ooh.
life.
All right.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to do. I'm sitting in that cursed chair from our episode with curses and everything that you can listen to. Now I'm touching the tree. So
You
we
gotta
are
touch the
set.
mummy.
Oh, the mummy
yeah.
too. I forgot.
Yeah, we're definitely
people.
set. You're gonna be really cursed. Super cursed.
We are. Listen, I've been married 23 years. You're not going to scare me. Shout out to the wife.
Wait, so I have a question. So if you get cursed with one thing and cursed with the other, does that mean you're double cursed, or does it
Or
negate
canceled.
itself?
Yeah, that's
canceled.
true. It's
All right.
canceled out.
All right. Dairylandfrights@gmail.com. If you've been cursed, but cursed like multiple times, so they cancel each other, we need to know. Dairylandfrights@gmail.com. Curse people. Please send us an email.
Yeah, this is
Please let
science.
us know.
This is research.
Mhm.
This is research, people.
John, I'm gonna rain on your parade now, though, because the tree that Calvin ended his life with has been cut down. So you cannot be cursed by that one. But there's plenty of other ones to choose from.
Fine.
It stinks.
All right.
You know why? Yeah, I just wanted to be cursed here and there, just for fun on a weekend day.
It's true.
Well, this cemetery used to be open to the public, but people have vandalized it. They've stolen headstones, which I feel like is like a very bad juju thing to do.
Right?
We don't do that. So it's locked up now. Someone even stole Calvin's headstone. I was like, that's lame. So now his like whole story is lost to history. So who knows where his headstone is. But, John, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this cemetery is close to Boy Scout Lane, which I was going to cover. I think we should cover that in a different episode, but I don't know too much about it, but I think it is a story of like an entire Boy Scout troop being murdered.
Oh,
that is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll have to cover
all
that.
These episodes go together, Megan and Brooke, because was our cursed roads.
They're all tied together.
We didn't cover that one, but we covered very similar roads. So this is awesome, Megan. You are tying everything together.
I know. It's like that
nice
meme where
bow.
that guy is like connecting all the dots with string on the wall. All right. Well, Calvin, we're going to leave you there because I'm going to get back to Kate Blood. So back to Kate. So obviously, as I've kind of covered, Kate's story has kind of been twisted over the years. Like, is she an axe murderer? Is she a witch? Did her husband kill her? It's like, what is happening here?
Right.
So something interesting I wanted to point out is you can actually visit her headstone today at the Riverside Cemetery. But something interesting that I think might have played into people twisting her story is that she actually has her maiden name, Blood, listed on her tombstone rather than her married name, which was Miller. That's what her husband's last name. So I looked into that, and I mean, you can print whatever you damn want on your headstone, but I think featuring your maiden name is a little bit more rare, especially if you got married. And I looked into that, and usually people do that if your family was like very prestigious or well known. So I guess that kind of does make sense. Maybe she just wanted to, highlight her last name and help it live on, which I guess she succeeded in that way.
Right. Maybe not in the best way, but
right.
Yeah.
So that got me thinking, what should I put on my headstone? And that made me think that I think it would be awesome to have a tagline underneath that says Megan Bear Slayer on it, because I don't know if you guys know, Brooke knows. So a few years ago, I think it was in 2017, I was driving back to Eau Claire. That's where I went to college. And I was in Osseo on the highway, and it was dark out. And I saw this thing, flash by me in front of my car. And before I knew it, it felt like I hit a brick wall, and my car instantly goes into like a smoke. Like it was crazy. And so I pull off to the side, and I realized that I had hit a black bear on the highway. Yeah. So it's like in Wisconsin, like you see deer get hit all the time, but like black bears, I was like, are you kidding me? Like this is like the worst thing that could happen to me. And I don't think that the bear survived, because the front of my car was like completely totaled, and there was like fur stuck in it. So I don't know, kind of metal, John.
It
so.
is,
I like that.
It is
that
pretty
is metal.
badass.
I like it.
Yeah. And Megan loves
like
bears
it.
too, so it's
I know.
sad.
I was so like distraught the rest of the night. Like I couldn't stop thinking about it. So we didn't find him. So I guess there is a slight chance that he made it. I don't think he did, but I still think about him.
Yeah. I still think about him to this day.
What do you think on your tombstone?
Well, a sidebar, I could have Eagle Slayer, which is another
story. Okay,
oh my God.
She didn't actually kill an eagle, guys.
I didn't kill an eagle. What happened was Megan and I were coming back from Michigan a couple weeks ago, and we stopped in Indiana at a gas station, and there were gas station trinkets, and I knocked one over onto the ground and broke its head off. And I tried to flee the scene because these truckers told me to. They said they wouldn't tell on me. And then the clerk came out after me and made me pay for it.
It was like $20, like for this.
It was $20. It was like this stupid little porcelain eagle, and I was like, it seriously dropped maybe not even a foot onto the ground, and it broke. It was so
lame.
Dumb. But yeah, so now I'm known as the Eagle Slayer at work. So because it was a work trip.
You, Megan and Brooke are both metal. The only thing I've ever hit, I've hit a stork.
You could have Stork Slayer,
which is lame. And then if you live in Wisconsin and you haven't hit a deer or had got close to hit a deer, you're not from Wisconsin, in my opinion. Or And yes, I've hit a deer and I've killed a deer, and a stork, believe it or not, hit the side of my car when it was trying to. Yeah, so I'm lame. That's all. You guys are killing eagles and bears and like
you got a
Godzilla and King Kong, and I'm like, the stork. That's
all right, guys.
Fair.
If we work together, we can get plots all next to each other and have Slayer on all of them, and no one will know what that means. It'll be great.
And then they'll make up stories about how we were just like a band of witches, sacrificing animals and things.
That is done and done.
Yeah, so. I'm about it.
Man, we have too much fun. It should be illegal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to finish up Kate's story here. So, as I mentioned, her tombstone is at the Riverside Cemetery, obviously in Appleton, Wisconsin. You can go visit yourself. And this was actually the very first cemetery in the town. It was founded in 1870. So tons of people every year go and visit Kate's tombstone. And like I mentioned earlier, all the tombstones are together except for Kate's. Hers, you have to walk deeper into the woods, and it's just like this lone tombstone just in a wooded area all by itself. It's very interesting, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. But here's kind of like the legend that people have around Kate's tombstone. And there's a variety of things people say, but the biggest one is if you approach the headstone during a full moon, you will witness blood dripping from the headstone.
Yes.
Which is very interesting. Yeah. Another interesting thing is that people have said that her headstone feels hotter than the other ones. So I don't really know what that implies, but maybe it has like more energy about it or something like that.
Or if blood is oozing inside of it like a person.
Oh, that would be crazy. Man, that's interesting. Well, and then here's another thing. People have said that they've seen like shadows and apparitions near the grave, but I couldn't find a ton of accounts about that. So
yeah.
But I think, you know, based off of the people who live in Appleton, like while these stories are really interesting, I think it's kind of obvious that this Kate Blood slander is like very unwarranted. Like I think people have just kind of like made up stories and added to it over the years. And in fact, a lot of Appleton residents have made it their mission to clear her name, saying these things are not true. So yeah, so I mean, you can definitely visit. Let us know if you feel any spooky things, because there's lots of people buried there. You know, there can always be, you know, other energy and other apparitions and different things like that there. So definitely let us know if you visited there and if you felt anything spooky. So
yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and finish up. Yes, thank you, John. Appreciate it. So I feel personally that I feel like a lot of the like disturbing parts of this story just aren't true. Sorry.
No.
I think it's just like slander on this nice lady because she has a weird last name. Like, come on, guys. It's rude. Yeah. So something interesting, interesting things I wanted to point out is that I mentioned that her plot is kind of pushed away from other people's, but if you kind of think about it, she was one of the first people that was buried at the Riverside Cemetery in the 1800s. So like the cemetery was only around for about 4 years before she died. So I think she might have been placed in a spot that was like prime real estate along the Fox River because, you know, they wanted to have a nice view and, you know, they were probably still figuring out where they were going to bury people. So it might have just been a coincidence that she was put away from the other people. Not that she was, you know, banished because she was an axe murderer or a witch or whatever. It's like she was a prominent woman back in the day and she deserved a nice spot in the cemetery.
For sure.
And then another thing I wanted to point out is the author, Chad Lewis, he was really talking about how, like we mentioned in our last episode, like seeing is believing. Like if you are really convinced that you're going to see an apparition or like this headstone is definitely warmer than other ones, it's like, I don't know, maybe your brain tricks you into thinking that that's true and maybe it's not. So I think you have to have a healthy dose of skepticism when you visit. Last thing I wanted to point out, I thought this was kind of awkward. So Kate's husband, he ended up remarrying a different lady. Her name was Mary Moulton Hutchinson. And all three of them are buried on the same plot. So can you imagine if your like husband remarried and then you have to like share your plot with like another random lady?
That is very odd.
Yeah. So Mary's name is actually on the side of the headstone. And then Mary and George Mary and George and Kate are all on the same headstone. It's very interesting.
Really?
That is very interesting. I don't think I've ever I'm assuming that maybe is like a common occurrence, but I've never seen that before. Very odd.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'd be too cool about that, but maybe, you know, Kate is like a chill lady. She seemed nice. So.
I'm trying to think of like what the better alternative would be, like if they just took half of his remains and put it in one plot and half and put it in the other.
Brooke, no.
Just,
Brooke, economical here.
Brooke had to go there.
Toss some bones in one and some bones in the other.
Wait, so could you haunt both spots then?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Sure.
Why not?
Yeah. Why not? You can do whatever you want. You're a ghost.
Yeah, you're a ghost. Do whatever you want. Come on.
Closing question for you guys. How would you feel if you died and then 150 years later, i.e. today, people were like bad-mouthing you and making things up like Brooke was an axe murderer and John was a witch. It's like
warlock. That's called warlock.
Nah, you a witch.
I think, part of me would be happy that they're still talking about me, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, at least your story lives on, maybe not in a true way, but you're still cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure.
So, look, as long as you make up some fun stuff about me, like I don't know, like I was some Satanist in my basement, like taking goats and drinking their blood and stuff like that, and listening to Slayer, and like, okay, cool, I like that. That's pretty cool.
Part of that's
I go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't make me out like I eat babies, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
come on, that's too far. I'm not gonna eat babies. I will sacrifice a goat. There's plenty of goats. We're fine, okay?
There's plenty of
Crane Slayer and goat killer.
Cranes. I can crane and goat kill all damn day. You can put that on me. Great, For all you crane people out there getting upset with me right now, I don't care. Come at me. I'm ready.
It was an accident.
all you crane people. We know you're out there.
But that's super interesting because that's what history is like, I'm a huge history buff, like I've told both of you before. And really right now, all this history is coming out because people are finding like all these things that we learned way back when in high school that are not true.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're learning like, oh, Benjamin Franklin was kind of a dick.
Yeah,
he was this great guy. Right, yeah, he wasn't this great guy that everybody thought he was. And, you're like, oh, our founding fathers endorsed slavery. Oh, wait a minute. Like, whoa.
Right.
Yeah, right?
It's true. It's fun to learn about history because, yeah, you find out all
awesome.
that stuff.
And so Brooke is an axe murderer. I'm a crane murderer. And of course, you're the bear slayer, Megan. That's perfect.
Yep.
Love it. Oh, eagle. I'm sorry, Brooke. I'll give you the eagle.
Eagle, not an axe murderer.
Wait a minute. You
Brooke, is there something you want to tell us?
Eagle with an axe. There we go.
Yeah. Oh my God, that'd be terrible.
Oh, Chihuahua.
So, Megan, why don't you
that's all I
wrap
have
it
for
up?
you guys. But yeah, so I want to know, especially if you live in the Appleton area or you visited the Riverside Cemetery, like I want to know, like, have you been able to visit Kate's headstone? I actually watched some YouTube videos about it, and it seems like a very like calm and relaxing spot. So I feel like she's just living her best life down there, and a very problematic life, even though people make up
trying to make her problematic
about her. But yeah, so I feel for her. And
yeah. And I want to add, if you want to send us some sugar cookies with the little blood dripping from it, hey, just let us know, or we can pick it up.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I'm about that. I will order it and have you mail it to me.
Yeah, I'll go to Appleton for some cookies for sure.
Yeah, heck yeah. I know where we're going for Halloween, guys.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Done. So that was a fantastic story, Megan. I love that. Brooke, what is our next week? What does that look? After we have Slender Man, we did that previously, and now we got bleeding tombstones and blood and all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We have a very interesting story. It's not scary, but it's very odd and a little mysterious. It's the disappearance of Larry Bader.
Ooh.
So, and the reappearance.
Did you say Darth Vader?
Potentially. Yeah.
In Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Darth Vader is in Wisconsin? Or you said Larry Vader. Is that correct?
Larry Bader with the B.
Bader, not Vader.
Cool.
Yeah, not Vader. That'd be a cool last name, though. I wish. But yeah, it's gonna be a really fun story. Definitely some intriguing, weird shenanigans. Kind of Hodag-esque a little bit. Who's an eccentric guy. So, so I think you guys will enjoy it. It's gonna be a good time. So yeah, stay tuned.
All right, can't wait to hear, Rick.
Yeah,
can't wait to hear it again. Say hi to your ghost. If you have any bleeding tombstones in your area, please let us know. If you hit a bear and it runs into the woods, just check it out because it might be a man. So, Megan, you might have committed murder. I'm just saying.
Maybe it was Bigfoot.
I did murder it. Oh my God, I'm a murderer, John.
Well,
You know what? I was
Okay,
so
Megan.
scared after that. I was like, if I hit a deer after I hit a bear, like I will pass away. Like this would be so bad. Can't do this.
Poor Megan.
Okay, knock on wood right now. Will not
We're
happen.
knocking on wood. Superstitions. So again, say hi to your ghost. We love you. And I'm excited about Larry Bader and missing disappearance. So we will see you next week.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
Can't wait to hear.
Talk to you guys later.
Yes, see ya.
Later. See ya.